All right, we are live now. So welcome to the next edition of the Women's Wisdom Circle. And I'm welcoming Liz in Finland and Hyatt in Finland also, Vivian in California, and Heidi in Italy. Heidi is just waking up, so she's going to join us in a minute, but she's listening in. So let me just quickly briefly recap, and then we'll do a centering exercise just to reconnect and see what is emerging from the space of our conversation today. Our last hangout, we really kind of moved into, and it was Liz who so beautifully summarized it, the new story of feminine leadership, leading from joy and success, and I would like to really move further into that exploration, since what I'm realizing more and more, what is needed is to step in and to lead from our essential self, from that place of wholeness, and instead of always, and I'm really talking for myself there, a lot, because you might not have that thing going on, but I have that thing going on, where I still have a lot of self-judgments about myself. And so those are fragmented aspects of my local self. And that fragmented aspects, I have observed myself in the last 2 weeks, where I then very easily can project those fragmented aspects of myself onto other people and create a distorted aspect of reality. But I'm really seeing that right now. So I am not going there. I have enough tools at my disposal to be self-checking and to know how to take care of my needs. And that's another exploration, something we can certainly talk about. So really, it's coming from that space of being that inner authority that knows when our needs are not met, how to take care of those needs in relationship and in community. Because healing truly can only happen, I am convinced, in community. You cannot do that journey individually. I mean, we've all been on that journey for the longest of time, and we have done what we could do individually. Now, what I'm seeing emerging is the collective. We need to heal the collective. And I have been on a very powerful healing call about 10 days ago, where we were healing in a group. I think there was about 130 of us. It was an extremely powerful and intense call. We were healing the old paradigm of the slave-master relationship, that enslavement that humankind has been under, probably from the inception of civilization. So it is something that runs very deep in our collective psyche, and that is something we can only heal in community. Truly, it is something that is triggered in community and can get healed in community. So that is also something that I wanted to kind of mention, because that has been part of my reality in the last couple of weeks. And so really, it's like, instead of thinking that our wounded part is wrong, it's like including our wounded aspects into the wholeness that we are, and from that space allowing whatever needs to be cleared up, so that we can heal from those walls that we have in our, those fragments that we still have in our consciousness. And this morning I was just briefly checking out on the news, and there was talks of building those walls to protect Europe, Hungary, building a wall from all those refugees, all those poor people fleeing the war in Syria, wanting to find a refuge and blocking them off. And I think this is really symptomatic. And then there was another politician talking about building a wall between Canada and the US. I mean, it's probably never going to happen, but just that those things still exist in the psyche of humankind. Building walls to protect. This is what needs to come off. We need to come together at another level so that those walls in physical reality can eventually be moved. So that's really what kind of got triggered for me this morning, and I wanted to bring into the space. And I would like to conduct perhaps a small centering exercise to see what is emerging from this, and anything else you want to bring, of course, to the conversation is totally welcome. This is not just what I'm bringing, okay? I want to make that clear. That's just what got triggered for me. So just taking a few moments and closing our eyes and remaining silent, tuning in, connecting. Because truly that connection to that larger space of who we are, that essential self, through the earth that we belong to, and the universe that we are a cell of. And creating the awareness of that connection within our own individual system. And enabling a gradual centering into our core self through that awareness that we are connected all the time to the physical world that we are a part of, but we are also part of that spiritual world, much larger and bigger than all the belief systems that we got programmed into. So just allowing our dropping down into that awareness, that field of awareness, and allowing a connection to our individual hearts and what is emerging for each of us through our conversation this morning or this evening for some of us. And then taking a few more breaths, really connecting to the larger circle of women that are coming together. Some of them might listen to the call later or might actually be listening in on the call right now but not coming into the room. That is also very possible. So let's include them and see what emergence in our conversation is happening today in our virtual connection throughout the world. Just taking another moment to connect with yourself, and whenever you're ready, taking another deep breath and gradually connecting back to your physical location, your physical body, perhaps moving around a little bit in that physical body. Taking another deep breath, coming back to normal consciousness, and whenever you're ready, opening your eyes. And let's start the conversation, see what is emerging. this morning or this evening for some of you. When you want to talk, just unmute yourself. Yes, Hayat. You might need to leave early, right?
Yes, I leave already 9:30. So that's why.
Please go ahead.
But my voice is going for myself. I don't know.
I cannot hear you well.
Okay, because there's an echo.
There's an echo. Do you have a headset? Can you put a headset on?
No, not at the moment here. Should I try to unmute myself and try again?
No, I'm just going to mute Dion. She's trying. Oh, she's not. Because somebody tried to come in the room and she has problems. Dion is having problems, so maybe that's why. You still have the echo right now?
No, it was when she tried to come in, I think. Yeah.
Exactly. Often what happens. Okay, so go ahead, Hayat. Okay.
Yes. Feels so good to connect with you again. I also started to miss you, and when I listen in what you were saying, Aline, I feel the power emerging here among us, and the power of the co-creative field, which is really calling us. That's why we want to be here. We want to explore this further, and the power also of the feminine leadership and leading with joy and success. But then I hear when you started to talk about those walls and refugees, now there is the risk that, and Liz you referred to Liz's comment of a new story, living in joy and success. So how can we allow ourselves to live that new story when we see the world is crumbling around us and we have these, people, in a way dragging us down? And I'm really listening to this, that how much should I, while birthing this new as a part of the evolution, how much can I look back? Because everything what we see now is created from that old mindset. And if I now give too much energy and emphasis, I will fall back to it, not allowing me to be in that joy and that success, which does not mean I will be selfish. It will mean that I will share that prosperity and that all that good with many people, but it means modeling a new way of living, that new story. And I'm still in between these now, I can notice, because it's a so overwhelming news coming in from the world. So how to navigate here in between these, and also feel myself being in between worlds, not really having a clear grasp of this new way of the new story. I can feel it, it's coming, and I know that, okay, this is about birthing a really new way of living. But it's not easy. That's why we really need these spaces to explore it. So thank you, ladies, for being here.
Yes, I hear you, and it is a push-pull type of experience, because I am living that also, and I mean, Heidi is present, and we on other hangouts with Heidi and other courses with Hangout, and what is emerging for me, it is that yellow meme of the spiral dynamics that we are exploring imperfectly for now, because it's nobody has the answers, or maybe even a further meme, of that evolutionary spiral. But it has to be explored. We have to go there, we have to dare go there and speak to all those things that are in the process of shifting, because everything is always moving. Nothing is fixed forever. Energy is constantly moving, and the more we can model something else and support other people to move through the spaces that they need to move through, wherever they are at, it's going to be helpful. Yes, Heidi.
Yeah, I think this is true. two things here true, which we need to do. One is helping people to go up the spiral, but how? If somebody is in a desperate state, in what we call in the red level, in many countries where these people come from are in this level, how do you tell them what to do? And then the other thing is the women leadership, and I think this is exactly what we need to do, because it is like a 6, 7, 8-year-old boy who is very selfish, egocentric, and he needs a strong mother to, to, this is not to be done. And we could do that as women. And what I'm thinking further is we need to pay attention not to do all this work only for us, because I think we have a role to go out. I'm thinking about all these people who are coming, who, when it continues like this, they would deteriorate our way of living completely, because they would create their own culture inside of our cultures, as they already do, and then it is not governable anymore. So we have our level of consciousness and then theirs, and they are incompatible. So there is no integration possible with this whole amount of people. And on the other hand, why are they coming here? So what we need to do from our perspective is to give them the possibility and the not material necessarily money and stuff, but give them the possibility in their own countries to create something, sort of bring them back in their country, but with something they can learn. So education, women education, for instance, is a huge thing, because women would do that. Women would create something. Men are sort of blah. And then the other thing which I heard lately, which is very, very, very discomforting, is as most of the immigrants are men, and nobody wants to make love with them, because their own women, the few women who come with them, try to find a European person. And when 80% of young men not having sexual possibilities, the crime rate will go up. We women in our countries will be very much less secure. Like in old times, when we had to fear to go out on the streets. This will come back if we don't find a way to have it attractive enough for these men who are coming only not for security reasons but for other reasons, to stay in their own countries. And that's what I think what women can do. Women reinforcing other women, and as I said, sometimes we women have to tell them what is right and what is wrong, and not so much the men, because the men are fighting. As soon as a man says something to them, or he has enough authority, and then they believe it, and because they are used to authority, or they just don't. When we come with our way of saying, oh, you should do that, you should do that, blah, 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 they don't understand this language. Or you say a language like this, and we know that from the spiral, I'm the boss and you do what I want to, but it's very tiring, because you have to be always in the role towards them, and we don't want to be in this role anymore. Or women who really stand up and say, pang, pang, you don't behave in this way,
What comes up for me when I hear you is there is no easy solution, because this whole idea of starting women's wisdom circle started with me coming back from a trip from Pakistan, where I felt so helpless, because whatever I saw there is now happening everywhere in the world, So I felt so helpless, and I had no solutions, and there is no easy solution. But what emerges for me is something that I read and I heard John Perkins share from the Shuar, which is an Amazonian tribe that is probably the tribe that lived for the longest without being discovered, by the Western man. And there, the women would be in a position, like in very often in old society, old tribal societies, earth-based societies, the women were in an authority position to give the final okay as to going to war or cutting a tree or going into the forest and hunting, etc. And when in the Shuar tradition, when the women realized that they had enough provision, they would forbid the men to go out and hunt. And they said, enough, stay home now. You know? So it's exactly what you're saying, reassuming our authority and getting out of that program that we had been running, which is that enslavement, of women, the patriarchal kind of domination type of model, where we are coming out of that. The energies speak to an emergence of a lot of things. I mean, if you start to go on the internet and listen to everything that's going on there, it's like we can talk about that sometime, but there is so much emerging right now, and it's bubbling up. It's bubbling up. And yes, you want to say something?
The thing is, it's for us, it's relatively easy. What we need in some way, and you are in the cutting point, where things are, what we would need to begin to do actively to give support to women who have not this possibility, who are, every move they are doing is scary because it's real danger for their life. So we need to find a way to influence not so much the women too, but to influence this male, use our old ways of manipulating to make men do what they need to do, who are of this restricted mindset. So I don't know, it's just an idea, but we cannot do it by our thinking. We need to go into their way of thinking and being, and an attractive woman in some way might be able to have some effect on these minds. I mean, I think we have to go out actively into the world. That's what I wanted to say.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you.
Wanted to comment on that, Heidi. These old women ways of getting our voices heard, like manipulating, we have to be very aware of that. We need to heal both our masculine and feminine sides. And when they are healed, we affect, when we talk from that power of our being, what Aline was referring to earlier, from that essential self, that energy will make the work for us. We don't have to try to think how we will, because that energy expresses the oneness, and it expresses a totally different being. So then we are not in our head thinking of how we should manipulate or impact these or train them or tell them or whatever. We act from our beings in the here and now, following that impulse from the essential self. I think this is a crucial difference.
Yes.
I agree, but in the meantime, until we are there, something needs to be done, because this is now a present urge, and we will see big changes to the worse probably in our societies if we don't find a way to keep people at home, and not in a prison, but in a way that they want to be at home.
Of course, I totally agree with you on that, but I want to really look for this new way of being. I keep my focus on that all the time.
When you were speaking, I saw a sort of what they called a witch some time ago, the wise woman, who had the authority in herself. So I do think we need to go into this authority.
And in order to go in that, we need a lot of healing still of that paradigm, because I'm sure I'm not the only one who have memories of those past lives, and what happened to us in those past lives. So we would not be coming together if we would not have some commonality there. Okay. So definitely. Who is wanting to speak next? I know, Harriet, you have to leave, right? Liz, you have to unmute yourself. Yes, go
Yeah,
ahead.
I did. I did. Hello again, everyone. I got several points that I would like to sort of bring out and mention, but maybe I'll start with a similar story that you, Aline, told us about Palestine. I've heard a similar tradition from Amazon forests. There is a Azua nation there living a very, say, spiritual, in a very earthy, rooted way. A small nation, and they are doing extremely good healing work, and they have reached out for the Western people to spread their message. The Azwar people actually they share the same story that women they give birth to children, they take care of the nutrition of the village and people there, and so on. Sort of the traditional things. And men go out and they go fishing and they do the, chop the wood and so on. But the thing is that women get to say when it's enough.
Mm-hmm.
They get to say to the men that we have enough wood, no more chopping to do, no more fishing, no more anything else. We have enough. So I'm bringing in the sort of the idea of enoughness,
Mm-hmm.
which is I think we have lost in our Western society. And okay, the story itself is sort of a clear one. Feminine, masculine, men, women type of thing. But when we bring it inside ourselves, we need to tell our masculine side, the left brain, when to stop. So the authority is the the right brain, which
Mm-hmm.
is the feminine side of the brain. And this is the basics that you know all, but it's about the society, it's about the community, it's about being connected and so on. So we should go back to ourselves, go back to the same Atsua tradition again, remember our origins and let our right brain to say our left brain that this is enough. It's part of the healing path.
Mm-hmm.
I just wanted to bring out this one shortly, and I agree with Heidi. I don't actually read or see the news nowadays. The only news are the headlines in my cell phone, and that's enough for me because I don't want to dive in with whatever is going on there. And this way, I keep myself in my core. Uh, those news are very manipulated. They are most of them are lies in one way or another. I've been doing some research there,
Mm-hmm.
and we get to hear what we get to hear, what someone out there wants to us to um, see or feel or hear about the situation. Very seldom it's the genuine situation going on there, and I have some amazing examples on this one. For example, from Egypt, when Egypt was really the
Can you
on the
speak a
core.
Can you speak a little louder because
Yeah,
it's fading out a bit? Okay,
okay, and I can add some volume. Is this better?
a little bit better. Yes.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to sort of share the message also that when you see the news, when you read the headlines, try to see what's behind it. And then when you see what's behind it, you can see the core. And it's mostly very dark manipulation, what we see there and what we can um, recognize there. One thing is that I agree with all of you that we need to go out our work is needed more than ever before, and we need to reach out more people. We need to reach out more women. We need to sort of come from our closet, not being perfect, not being totally healed yet, but we are so many steps in front of other women. We are there, we're walking ahead of them, we are sort of the pioneers. And I'd say that it's time for us. All these happenings around the globe, just to me, they tell that my work is needed more than ever before. And if we can come from the place of joyful and successful leadership, we truly attract people, attract women who are still in their old story, in their distorted dream, and they want to change. They want to awake, truly physically awake, actually, and start the new story that is less distorted, that is less manipulated. And I find that this news that we can read, of course, the situation is severe. I don't want to, put that down in any ways. But to me, it tells that this humankind, as an end product of itself, is actually an end product. And with this news, with the stories, there are things going on in the Turkish border and so on. I can see that the old story is sort of revealing itself into all of its extents, into the right scale that people need to see before they get to wake up call. It's like wakey wakey, beautiful dreamer. And for that, to go out, to truly go out and attract people to listen to our story, to help women, to educate women and girls, which is one of my jobs. We need to be in our root voice. That's a thing I call it. We need to recognize our root, and we need to recognize our root voice, the powerful, extremely powerful voice that resonates with anyone, with men and with women, and sort of breathe that in and out. So when we talk, when we communicate, the resonance is sort of to its highest potent. And I have a couple of other things that I would like to share with you, because I've been truly intensely been on my excavations with the collective history of women, with the with our matrilineal ancestors.
Make it a little louder still.
Okay. Okay, try to. Yeah.
If you just higher the sound, it would be easier.
Okay. Okay, trying to get it as high as possible now.
Okay,
so,
good.
Good. Yeah, I've been working with two very interesting issues for the past days. One of them has to do with our matrilineal ancestors, and I'm doing some channeling from our matrilineal ancestral line, and they have a message of money from. They want us to understand about money more than we have probably done before. And then there is another aspect that probably is part of your healing path too, is about unconditional imprisonment, the path to absolute freedom. And there are a few steps in between there. And I've had some rather surprising details coming in from that excavation, and I would like to share if we have time today. If we don't, we can do it some other time. But I found actually these themes sort of ones that I want to share, and again, if not today, maybe later, then we have another call. Thank you.
Well, I would like to hear what you have to say, and yes, I totally agree with you. The news that we get is definitely a manipulation to keep the old paradigm of fear-based and separation. You know, to keep us to activate those energies in the masses. You know, to create more paralysis, definitely. And what has really supported me in really understanding this is searching on alternative news channels, because the news is available, all kinds of news is available. And one source of news that I have really been deeply investigating recently is some sources with Gayam TV, and there is also Democracy Now! There's all kinds of news channels that we can go on and hear about the positive stuff that is emerging in the world, rather than only be reconditioned over and over again. It's almost like an addiction to negativity by watching the news, you know. So I am not dwelling in watching the news. I'm just usually kind of checking out what is being broadcast. So it informs me. And my healing certainly doesn't come from listening to the news, but mostly by listening to alternative sources of information that informs you of quite a different story. And it's just amazing. Quite a different story. And I would like at one point to start talking about those things. You know, right now might not be the time, but as we are continuing our exploration, that is something that definitely needs to come also into the public conversation, because this is still a public conversation, you know. So definitely I would like to hear, but I would also like to give Viviane and Elizabeth a chance to chime in, since they have joined the Hangout. So who wants to? Elizabeth, go ahead.
For me, it's the evening. It's been a long weekend, so I'm happy to give some of my time to Liz, and I'm happy to just hold the space and listen tonight.
Good. All right.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Elizabeth, for joining us. You know, because even if it's just the energy that you contribute,
yeah, for sure.
It's a lot. Thank you. All right. I'm going to, okay. Viviane?
Yeah, so Liz can, yeah.
Yeah.
I've been listening very intently to everything you're saying, especially, Liz, when you said that you are channeling this information. I'm also a medium who channels information. And I get an overwhelming sense of helplessness at times, because I absorb so much of what is going on in the other parts of the world that are not on the news here in America, because the news is very biased in this country, I feel. And so we get only snippets of what's really going on. I see that, you know, I'm an eternal optimist, and I am in an organization in which we work towards world peace, and we have been, and I have been in this organization for 36 years now, so it's not an overnight success, I would say. However, the law of cause and effect is greater than everything else. The law of cause and effect will come into play in this world situation in which there are those who are trying to take over and control the world, because just mere numbers is not going to be enough. It has to do with the quality, not the quantity. I do believe that the light overcomes the darkness, and that we will see that in our lifetime. At the same time, we do need to come together as co-creators that we are, the feminine co-creators that we are, and make a difference, not just in our society, not just for myself to aggrandize myself or to make more money or to be more successful or to have a following on Facebook. I'm sorry, but that's not my purpose in life. So, so what we need to remember, and by the way, Wayne Dyer just passed away today.
Oh, wow.
And it's interesting because he was being interviewed from a three-year-old interview this morning on Super Soul Sunday with Oprah. And he said something that reminded me, and I think one of you actually put in that that article on Google somewhere that I received on through Facebook. I think through your connection on Facebook, Aline. So it was the fact that the ocean is life, the ocean of life. If you take a small cup and scoop up some of the water, that is the individual. And the individual is still a part of that ocean. No matter how you look at it, that we are still, all of us, one and united really in that oneness of our being human. Now what we do with it is a totally different thing, of course. And so it is important for us to raise consciousness in this world in such a way that we all understand that when we hurt one other person, we are hurting ourselves. And unfortunately, that concept has not been made clear to those who believe that they will get 72 virgins when they go over to the other side. So there has to be a way to continue our work of raising consciousness. Now, in our organization for world peace, we believe in bringing it to each individual one-on-one, the treasure of the heart. That could take forever. That could take forever. So I don't have the answers. I'm looking at the questions myself. Suffice it to say that I feel very much embroiled in whatever is happening in the world. For example, today I felt this inexplicable sense of anguish and helplessness, and I know that it has to do with this movement that is happening in the world. It's not just mine, it's what's happening to everyone, and it's going to impact all of us. So I don't know what to suggest except to remember that love is the greatest power in the world, and I'm not speaking of romantic love, and that the point of power is in this moment, and that faith is the antithesis, the antidote to fear. And if we stay in a mentality of fear, we will not progress. And that's just all I have to say. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Vivian. And what comes up for me is I think it's a video that I posted on my Facebook, actually. And I wanted to post it in the group, but I haven't done that yet. It's about something that one of the shamans, little grandmother, was talking about, you know, and she said, love and is what we need. We need now to focus on love and not on all the strategies that will bring up fear. And she was actually referring to the changes that are predicted to happen on the Earth. And she was talking actually about the pole shift, the magnetic pole shift, and what could happen during the time of the pole shift, which is what the ancients remember. You know, the shamans talk about it. It's actually coming probably in our lifetime. We probably will experience this. Now, nobody knows for sure when exactly that will happen, but that will create a time of darkness for about 3 days before the sun comes back up again. And that's a remembering from the ancients. And during that time, if you are in fear, there could be a lot of havoc created, but you are in love and you are kind of trusting that we are in a process. We are just in a larger process unfolding, and you can focus on the positive energies, and just getting by for 3 days is not impossible. So a lot of things have to do with that consciousness, having awareness, talking about those things. And I really would like to give the rest of the time to Liz, if you want to bring and share whatever you have channeled, from that source, because it's those informations that we need to listen to now, and not the news that keeps on separating and creating more havoc. But we have to talk to both, because if we only talk about love to people who have not experienced it yet, who are still in fear, they cannot even hear it. So we have to talk about the polarity for now still, to allow that shifting, more people shifting onto another frequency, because it's all frequency. We are energy. We really are energy.
Before Liz, okay, excuse me. Before Liz is starting, I wanted only to acknowledge that what we are doing here is we are not talking one-on-one anymore, and we should consider to take this technology or similar technologies and really use it much more to get our word out. Learn all that what we need to learn to use these things and do it, because one-on-one I think is sort of dead. It takes ages.
Yes, community.
We need
what we're doing.
Even have the possibility that people listen without who we don't know yet. And this is the nice thing with Hangouts, maybe this new platform Blab too, that we reach people who we don't know yet, who just stumble into it, And if we could, for instance, do things like that, and every day do a Blab or something, one of us every day, and send out 5 minutes of inspiration or whatever, just do something active also while we are considering all the other things and developing all the other things on the inner side,
I love it.
That's what I wanted.
Thank you. Thank you for the suggestions. We'll ponder on it. Yeah?
Yeah.
Do you want to go?
Yeah, I just put on some volume. There we go. Can you hear me loud and clear? Yeah. I agree with Heidi totally. My work has been one-on-one mostly, and I felt sort of reluctant to continue with one-on-one work, even though it is the body of my work, or has been the body of my work. And I wanna reach out for more people, and I agree totally that we should take the new technique that we have. Everyone has. We don't need money to continue conversations like this, or to educate people through the internet, and we can do it globally too. So this is a possibility to spread the message, to get our voice heard, and let people have the possibility, the genuine possibility, without manipulation, to have that genuine possibility to wake up from their dream. And to me, it is the situation on this planet is and has been caused by money. The power that is attached to money, the violence that has been attached to money, and all the symptoms that we can see. So the core issue is the power of money, or money and power, whichever way you want to put it. And yeah, got my share of it too, for sure. And been struggling financially and so on. And I was so relieved to listen to our ancestors, and they are the linear ancestors to me, and always have been. to me, they are this group of extremely wise women that have held the planet together, or sort of just hold in their arms this planet for several thousands of years, um, so that we can actually start the new life on this planet right now. And like I told you before, we are the pioneers for that. And my privilege is to, yes, to have sort of these discussions with ancestors, these supervised women, and also they are working with me um, as babysitters for the yet unborn generation. So I'm connected in between the ancestors and the unborn generations, and I channeled the unborn um, children since 2000 and was it 12 or 13, but it was the night before Christmas when they opened the channel, sort of. And their wish was, help us to help us. The children didn't ask, do it for us, or they didn't ask that, or their wish wasn't that, make it happen for us. It was, help us to help us. So we've come together till August, last day of August 2015, and they are ready to be seen. They are ready. They are ready, and they have given me the permission, actually just yesterday, to start talking about them to their mothers. And there we have the ancestors sort of backing up the babysitters of the whole humankind, but especially the babysitters of the unborn generation. And yesterday, the ancestors wanted to talk about money. And this is rather a long one, but make it really short. Their message was yesterday morning that women are about to channel money. Until now, the money has been masculine power, and it has belonged to men. And it has been able to empower itself, and empower itself with violence, which to me and for the ancestors too is always power without responsibility. Violence is always power without using power without responsibility. Many women have accepted the same pattern, the same maneuvers, and they have accepted the violence, the violent pattern in their lives for several thousands of years. And when we combine the violence into the whole, uh, and I want to sort of open this a little bit. The word whole is kokonaisuus in Finnish, which means whole woman new. That is the direct translation of the word that they are using. The whole entity sort of is in Finnish, whole woman new. That is how the word is built in Finnish language. Whole woman new. That is in English, the whole. When we attach the violence into the whole, it will open their eyes, that being women, that being the mothers of the yet unborn generation. And the power for change is especially in these women. The children they are receiving are more of a spiritual nation than of human nation. And their needs are very, very special. Their needs are beyond our highly sensitive personalities. They're even way beyond. But they come in a sort of package, in a format of a human being. They look like human beings. Their needs are totally different. And now that we are sort of unplugging the last pieces of the power of money, the coding of the power of money in us when we are doing our healing work. We need to consider and sort of continue with our message, spreading the message of coming back or remembering the original pattern, remembering the original coding that we have as human beings. And that is, as you know, forgetting the past 5,000 years and going back to 5,000 and earlier BC, where we have the power. The women have the power in their pelvic bone. They will not give it up, they will not sell it, and they will not let anyone to abuse it. So when we open the distortion of money, we are able to help women to receive their power back and help them to use it. I'm trying to sort of make this message more understandable. What is important? The important part is, and why we probably will see women very motivated, is that when women carry these children, they do understand that with the power that men use, the masculine forces use, the masculine forces will not support the lives of the next generation. The next generation is not possible with the masculine energy. The children will not be received by women who are actually using the same violent energy or are sort of sucked in to the violent energies. And using our voice, using our gifts, using our news story will sort of connect everything in human lives, everything that has been meaningful, and the children, so the children are able to come. So the message for me is that I'm allowed to speak about the children, I'm allowed to speak about their mothers, and their mothers are now the niche in the core in my work from this day forward. And I just wanted to share that when we go ahead, when we do the healing work, especially the healing that we need to do when it's considered to the power of money, we open a lot in ourselves. And this is what I've been doing for the last 8-9 days, really, really intensely. And from that space comes another sort of aspect to our healing path. And if you still feel like you want to listen, just briefly, we can talk about more, and maybe I can do the exercise with you on the next call. But what I figured out that we need to understand what let me see where I have it right here. What it means in our personal life and globally to live in unconditional imprisonment. And what's the difference between conditional imprisonment? And actually the most common phase where people live is conditional freedom, very manipulated freedom. And then there is something that we are all looking for, and that's absolute freedom. And there are similarities, and I'm bringing this tool and share it with my women to get more sort of information and study more of it. So I would be happy to take you through this exercise later on, maybe on some other call. And when I did this myself, and actually will do it with a customer of mine today, I realized that the saddest people and the sort of new age spirituality, most of it comes from the conditional freedom and how manipulated state that is. It's not, it's seemingly freedom, it's seemingly free, seemingly everything. And what we are looking for, I think, all of us, is the absolute freedom. And that is, there is a sort of gap in between the conditional freedom and the absolute freedom. And I found myself being on that space when I did this exercise and sort of came up from there. It's like a fjord, very deep, and you need to come up there. Yeah, thank you.
I want to share a few comments that have come in while you were talking. Okay. Um, Heidi said that maybe we can do another session to talk about power, money, and religion. That's a suggestion. I think women have the same intensity of energies also in violence. It only expresses differently. So it would be very interesting to talk about power as it shows up in women and men. And Elizabeth was sharing that she is reading The Search for a Non-Violent Future by Michael Nagler. Very worthwhile. So I definitely what I'm hearing you say. I mean, you have said so much. I don't think in a few minutes I can convey the whole sense of what I was hearing you say. The main thing is you've mentioned like we have to unplug from the power of money, you know, and what comes up for me is like when I hear money, I also hear energy. You know, money and energy are linked. And there is a whole distortion about energy because free energy exists and is available already on this planet. It's just not kept. We're just not having it. Because if you kind of think you have access to energy, then you don't need money anymore. Then you can actually grow your food, you can live, and you can have quite a different life, you know, if we had this. And this is all part of the manipulation that is keeping that paradigm in place right now. And that old paradigm, you know, the energy and the money, and this is how we have also exploited the planet, you know, for that. And this is all like the masculine has done that, you know. This is the mind, the fear of lack, the scarcity, and all that. And definitely there would be a lot more to talk about. And I think because we usually keep the calls to an hour, that could be definitely the topic where we start our next conversation from, to deepen into that that whole construct, because we're living in a mental construct, unfortunately. And a lot of people haven't woken up to that mental construct that has been running the world. And until we have more people growing in consciousness, evolving and realizing that it is only a mental construct that we can shift by doing the inner work and the inner healing that is required, because it is, you know, it has created scars that and fragmentation in the mind. So that inner healing is required, and we really, women have been at the forefront of that journey of healing, because we were, you know, the slaves and the victims of that old paradigm for a long time. Whether we allowed it, played the game, you know, we have probably also been perpetrators in other lifetimes, you know. I mean, I'm not going in there right now, but this is like a whole topic that needs to be addressed and talked about, so that it comes out more publicly. I have some more comments here. Let me just read them. Elizabeth is saying, I have been talking about how we are violent to ourselves. Yes, we have a lot of violence to ourselves still. And Heidi is saying we always need an exchange value, call it money or not. Okay, yes, that's true. But it all depends how it is. Yeah, but that could be talked about. And Elizabeth says we each have many skills to exchange, definitely, and that's, the a lot of new way of offering our services now is to gift them, and then at the same time educate through the gifting, because some of those things, and that's a whole journey, and that's actually one thing that I've also been kind of grappling with. How can we support each other to bring our respective message out? And perhaps, since I'm going to be leaving in a month from this part of the world, which I've been grateful that I've lived in, because I've learned so much by living there. I would like to talk individually to each of you and explore how we can bring a collective something out, because again, it's not me only who has the idea, but through conversations you have ideas, and then you can take the next step, and that's really what this emergence is all about. Nobody has the answers. It's so complex, but coming together, and every time we take another step, and we can support each other and bring some more information out. And eventually, there will be that new paradigm that we are working for, to create. Not the only ones, there are many doing this, And I'm having another comment. Gifting is sort of dangerous for women who have always worked for nothing. I hear you, Heidi. Yes, it is, I hear you. Yeah. Yeah. So if you want to unmute yourself quickly and just kind of Vivian is saying the law of cause and effect cannot be avoided. It is the great equalizer. And Elizabeth saying we have a gorgeous full moon shining in my window. Sending arrow. Yes, okay. Yeah, it was full moon in Pisces yesterday for here, So I really want to conclude this call, even though we could talk for another hour and we would not be finished, but I think it's important also to keep this to a time frame for now, so that people want to listen eventually. And if it's too long, it kind of people get out of patience, and then they drop off anyway, So just thanking you for having shown up with and offered your contribution respectively, each of you, and looking forward to continue the conversation. Inviting you to say a closing word, maybe quickly, before I stop the hangout, and we can still kind of talk off the broadcast. I just want to hold the broadcast closest to an hour if possible. We have already a little bit more than that. So Elizabeth, you want to say something?
I just want to say good night. Aloha.
All right. Good night, Elizabeth. Thanks for having come. See you next time.
Yeah, thanks.
All right. All right. If there is nothing else, then yes, Liz, you want to?
Yeah, just wanted to thank you for extremely inspiring conversation, and I feel that we have a sort of a platform where to continue. And since we have this huge collective trust, and you have been able to create a magnificent space here for us to share things, I felt a little bit vulnerable with my sharing here, but it felt very right, and I'm grateful that you were willing to listen to what I had to share. I need to go. Yeah, I have a launch coming up, and need to really work for it for a couple of coming days. So I wish you well, and I hope that you have a wonderful day or a good night's sleep. Thank you.
Thank you, Liz. Thank you for your vulnerability, because that's what is needed. We have to be able to show that part of the feminine also, not only the power, you know. Thank you. Okay, bye-bye. I'm stopping the hangout now, and thank you for having come, and for whoever is going to listen later. Thank you very much.